it's your girl, and we're back. Like this is a fast turnaround time. Usually I film like a video once a month, and here we are filming multiple videos in the span of a week or two. I'm just really proud of myself. Like, look at this new, like, I know I talked about it a little bit, but can we just take a moment to appreciate the new setup and how pretty everything looks and the crystal clear dynamics? I don't know what I'm talking about. Quarantines drive me crazy, but we're gonna have fun today. So I've kind of been wanting to do like a first appearance collector spotlight for a while now. However, when you look at places like Instagram and YouTube, hey, I look at a lot of those accounts run by men. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's the truth. I call it like I see it. Those accounts always end up to be some type of really weird dick measuring contest, and it's always, oh well, I own this book that is worth this much money, but wait, I also own that book, but wait, I own 3 copies of that book for whatever reason, and I'm just not that type of person. Like, I collect comic books because I love the stories, because I love the characters, and it's just the type of person I am. Now, I have about 9 first appearances, at least 9 first appearances that I'm going to talk about today. And all of these appearances mean something special to me. They're characters that I absolutely love. They're books that I have found in the wild, because I'm not the type of person to go onto eBay or onto online retailers and buy comics that way. I don't know why. I know it's convenient, but there's just something about the thrill of a hunt and finding a book out in the wild and unexpectedly finding it that just really drives it home for me, and it's really part of the reason why I love comics and why I love collecting. Not only that, but a lot of these first appearances that I found have some really, really insane and crazy stories about them. So, while yeah, some of them might not be worth all that much, and some of them are worth quite a pretty penny, and I didn't pay that much, but it just amazes me that a book, a piece of paper, is worth that much. I figured why not kind of do a little fun deep dive what's in Mars's collection, because you can't see on that side of the room because there's a lot there. But if you can see behind me, there's a lot. So we gotta break it down. We gotta do little small chunks. And so we're gonna start with the comic book first appearances. So what better way to start off the first appearance collection with what is probably one of my favorite first appearances in my collection. Not only that, it's one of my favorite characters. It's one of my favorite Batman villains. He's head of the scumbag boyfriend army. If you haven't guessed who it is already, have you been even watching my channel? Do you even watch my Twitter? I'll also give you a golden star if you've already guessed who it is. That's right, we're talking about Thomas Elliot, aka Hush. His first appearance, obviously, was in the Hush run. He actually first appeared in Batman 619, and this isn't necessarily the first appearance of Thomas Elliot. This is more so the first appearance of Hush in all of his band-aided glory. But if you know me, I love Hush. I love Thomas Elliot. He is by far my favorite Batman villain. I think he's one of the best Batman villains. Y'all can fight me. There's just something about a vindictive and manipulative man that your girl really, really loves. I know that sounded kind of bad, but I just love Thomas Elliot. So this is one of those few books that I actually hunted down for. It was something I was actively looking for at conventions. I didn't go online to buy it because I figured it wasn't that hard to find. I think I picked it up for like $1 in some random bin. With how much your girl loves Thomas Elliot, I had to have his first appearance, and now it is a important and pinnacle piece of my first appearance collection, let alone my whole comic book collection, because there's not enough Hush in the world. So the fact that I own what is probably the most important part and history of his character, just there's something about it that makes you girls so happy. So looking at this stack that I have here, because there's 9 books that I have in total that I'm going to show off today, but looking at this stack, I'm realizing that there's quite a lot of Batman villains in this stack, and I don't know what that says to my character. I'm also known to be on the record of saying that Batman is completely and totally overrated, yet a majority of my first appearances and a majority of my collection actually is Batman. Oof. So this is one of the more recent books that I've picked up in my collection. This is Shadow of the Bat #1, which is the first appearance of Victor Zsasz. Victor Zsasz is another comic book villain that I really, 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 really love a whole lot, and he's kind of crazy, and he's kind of psychopathic, but I love him. So Victor Zsasz, I'll kind of go into Victor Zsasz just because a lot of people don't really know about him. So he's basically your average serial killer in Gotham. He's not special. He doesn't have any powers. He just literally goes out and kills people without rhyme or reason.
This is not over. It cannot be over. My blade will bathe in the crimson rivers of blood that will pour from the holes I cut into your body.
However, what makes Victor Zsasz so special and kind of unique is for every kill that he's done, he's gone and sort of tallied himself off. So he's known for running around Gotham shirtless, showing off hundreds, if not thousands, of ridiculous scars of the people that he's murdered. And as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that saying that he's one of my favorite comic book characters makes me sound a little psychopathic as well. But you know what? There's just something about comic book villains, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree with me, but there's something about comic book villains that are just fascinating and sort of amazing, and maybe we relate with them a little bit. And I'm just going to stop myself while we're ahead because I'm starting to sound a little crazy, and Batman's going to come through the window at any moment and throw me into Arkham Asylum. Hopefully within the same cell as Thomas Elliot. Please. Now, the first appearance of Victor Zsasz I picked up literally for $1 at my local comic shop, the one I used to work at. I was digging through the bins and I happened to find it. I actually found 2 copies of it, one of which I gave to the shop and one of which, you know, I bought for myself for a little $1. I'm actually surprised at how low his first appearance is. So that's typically what it costs, but considering that he was a prominent villain in Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey alongside Black Mask, it's kind of confused me because usually the way that comic book first appearances work is usually if a comic book character has appeared or announced in a movie or a TV show or anything like that, even video games at this point, usually it jumps their price, it skyrockets their price, and speculators, they're killing the market. I'm not going to go into that, but this is a book that I found for a pretty penny, and I think that's pretty cool. So this next book is actually the most recent in my collection, and I'm actually really proud of this one because it's one that I found while going through somebody's collection while working at the shop. One of our regulars bought in his entire collection from the 90s, and when I say he bought in his entire collection, I mean he bought in 14 long boxes, which your girl, as the resident comic expert at the shop at the time, I had to go through each and every one of those. However, what made this collection so special is not only the book that I'm about to show you, but it's the fact that this collection literally had every single book from the 90s that was worth a little bit of money. And if you don't know comic books, I can probably count on 2 hands the comic books that are worth something. Like, I'm telling you, I pulled out the first appearance of Cable. I pulled out the first appearance of Harley Quinn. Like, it was insane. It was probably one of the best days of my life, if I'm being honest with you. It was such an adrenaline rush. I'm going through this box. Look what I pulled out. Oh my God. Send help. But the only thing that we were missing was the first appearance of Deadpool, and then it would have made a perfect collection. However, I was able to find the first appearance of Bane with Vengeance of Bane #1. Now, this was a mini-series. What's really interesting about Bane, because he is such an iconic and prominent member of the Batman Rogues Gallery, is a lot of people think that he's been around for a while, but he's only been around since the 90s. I honestly think that he appeared in like 92, 93, something like that, actually. Looking at this, it says 93, which ironically is the year that I was born, so we have kind of a spiritual connection here, me and Bane. I really like that. But Bane is just one of those villains that I absolutely love. I think that, listen, I love Tom Elliott. Don't tell Tommy I said this. But Bane might actually be the best Batman villain out there. He is like one of the only characters that has successfully broken the bat. He's the only person that's smart enough to deduce who the Batman is, you know, without using a stupid Lazarus pit. I'm talking about Edward Nygma in Batman Hush because that was stupid and I hated it. But Bane is just really, really cool, and this is one of those books that I kind of always wanted to have in my collection just because he is such an iconic villain. He is just such a masterclass powerhouse, and for the longest time I actually really did not care about Bane a whole lot, and then I read him in Secret Six where Nicola Scott drew him as Mr. Big Ol' Thickums, and I fell in love with him, and here we are with the first appearance of Bane. Listen, I love King Shark. So it doesn't help that sharks are like my absolute favorite animal. I mean, but it explains my obsessive love with characters like Jeff the Land Shark and King Shark. Now, this is the first appearance of King Shark with Superboy #9, and I'll be honest, aside from his really rad 90s gear, I don't really care about Superboy. Superboy is kind of lame to me. I don't know why. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's just really, really lame, and I don't know why. However, King Shark is not lame, so I'm really happy to own the first appearance of King Shark, especially now that books like this are jumping in price, because my boy is not only going to be in a video game, but he's also going to be in the new Suicide Squad movie. So I'm really, really excited to just see my best Shark Boy in action, and I can't wait to see him. And this book is special because it was a gift from my ex-boss while I worked at the comic shop, and it was a gift because I worked a convention, and I absolutely, listen, I'm gonna pat myself in the back here. I kicked ass at that convention. I sold a lot of books, I sold a lot of merch, and so at the end of the day, my boss gifted me with the first appearance of King Shark that he bought from another vendor. So it's kind of special to me. So James, Jimmy Jam, if you ever watch this video, thank you. I love this book so much. So I've kind of been going on a Batwoman binger lately. If you've seen my Twitter, if you've seen my Instagram, I'm got some really fun Batwoman stuff in the works because, you know, I always got to talk about DC's biggest queer hero, but I have the first appearance of Batwoman, and that to me is just really, really special because Batwoman is a character that means a lot to me, and this is one of the reasons why I love first appearances and I love collecting first appearances, because when it comes to your favorite characters and knowing that you own a very important part of history, it just makes it all that more special. So Kate Kane, if you don't know, is like the biggest lesbian superhero period, let alone for DC or for Marvel, but she is just a resilient, badass woman that I love and relate with more than any character probably in the DC universe or in comics in general. She first appeared in 52, week 11, which was a really weird weekly miniseries that honestly was not that good, and this is the first appearance of her as Batwoman. Now, there is another book that I still need to get my hands on, and it's also part of the 52 weekly series. I can't think of off the top of my head what book that is, like what number it is, but it is the first appearance of Kate Kane, whereas this is the first appearance of Batwoman. If I'm being honest with you, this is probably the more important book of the two, at least to me anyway. So, Kate Kane, I love you. I love this book. And if you haven't read Batwoman, this is me telling you right now that you need to read Batwoman. So I love a lot of really strange characters in the DC universe. Like, I really love some of those characters that people don't really think about and don't talk about, and this one is definitely one of them. So, Granny, listen, I need you to understand this. Granny Goodness is my homegirl. I love Granny Goodness. She is so terrifying, she is so scary, she's so badass, and I love her. So I actually bought this book at a convention, and this is probably the most expensive first appearance book that I own in terms of what I paid for it. I actually went out of my way and paid about $25 for this book. So this is Mr. Miracle number 2, which is the first appearance of my girl, little Granny Goodness. So Granny Goodness is just, she's the badass of Apocalypse. Like, listen, I know we talk about Big Barda a lot, and I love Big Barda. And one day, I would like to own the first appearance of Big Barda, but I don't own the first appearance of Big Barda. So we're here to talk about Granny Goodness. And like I said, I'm derailing here, but when we think about bad bitches of Apocalypse, there are a lot of them. We've got the Female Furies, we've got Lashina, we've got Big Barda, but Granny Goodness is the OG bad bitch of Apocalypse. Okay? I just need y'all to understand that and respect that. I want to see her in more comics. I want her to have her own series. But for now, the first appearance will do. Sometimes I look at this book and I still can't believe that I own it. I'm gonna get emotional over a stupid comic book, but I look at this book and I can't believe that I own it, and I can't believe how ridiculous the story is behind it that I own it. So, without further ado, I guess we're gonna talk about Justice League of America number 75, which is the first appearance of Dinah Lance as the Black Canary. Now, this is not the first appearance of Black Canary. That was done way back when in one of the old Flash issues, and that book is ridiculously expensive. I mean, this book is a little expensive too, but the reason why this book is so important to me is because it is the first appearance of Dinah Lance, whereas the other one is the first appearance of Dinah Drake. And to me, Dinah Lance, that's the one who's marrying Green Arrow. That's my Lady Florist friend. This is my girl in the Birds of Prey. So to me, this book is way more important to me than that other book. And Dinah Lance is my all-time favorite superhero. And to own this book like I said, it's kind of like the same with Batwoman. It's just really bittersweet when you get to own a piece of history for a character that is so impactful and means so much to you. So there's actually a really, really funny story with this book. So I found this book at a convention, and it was a really small local convention that was actually held in my middle school gymnasium. And when I say it was a convention, it was basically like an oversized flea market. And there was this older man who literally had boxes and boxes of comics. I don't think he realized what comics were worth what. I don't think he realized what comics were what. He had boxes where it felt like anything that was 80s or above, he had marked at $1. Anything that was older than that, he had marked for $10. And this book was in there. And this is not the cheapest book that you could find. Listen, this book costs a pretty penny, and I never thought that I was going to be able to own this because your girl is cheap. I ain't paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to own the first appearance of a character. I'm sorry, I know I love you, but I can't do that.
Do I really look like I have money?
So the fact that I found this book for $10 is just wildly insane to me. And while I know it's not in the best condition, I own the first appearance of my favorite character. So this, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the most important book in my collection. Like, listen, if there is a fire in my house, I am grabbing this, I am grabbing my dog, and I am getting out. Everything else can burn, I guess. It's so pretty. Everything's basically DC. I'm sorry. I collect a lot of DC comics. For the longest time, I refused to read Marvel comics, and so all of my first appearance basically are DC comics, but I do have two very fun books that we're going to kind of round this video off with. And what's even more fun about this next book is it was actually bought from the same vendor a year later than the Black Canary book. So, this is New Mutants number 87, aka the first appearance of Cable. And I have a lot of strong, very attraction feelings to my boy Cable. I will say this, I have never actually read a Cable book. All of my Cable love, all of my Cable knowledge is purely superficial when it comes to the video games and to the movies, but I love Cable, and I'm sorry when an old man has a bunch of comics and has the first appearance of Cable also for $10. You buy the first appearance of Cable. Again, it's a book that I'm probably never going to read. I'm probably never even going to read a Cable book, if I'm being honest. He doesn't seem like the most interesting character, but he is definitely one of the cutest characters, and for that reason, he has a very, very special place in my heart. Thank you, Cable. So, this last book on the list is going to annoy a lot of people because of the method that I found it. So I'm going to go into the story before I even reveal the book. In my early comic book collecting career, because I have like 5,000 issues now, I have a lot of issues myself, but when I first started reading comics, I spent a lot of time in the dollar bins and the 50-cent bins and the 25-cent bins, and I'm not gonna lie, I was picking up books that just had really, really cute girls on the cover because I was like, oh, look at these badass ladies. They seem really cool, so if a cool girl was on the cover, I bought the book. And that kind of gatewayed into me falling in love with characters like Black Canary and falling in love with characters like Mara and Huntress and Batwoman and so on and so forth. And this book, I bought this book purely because there was a badass woman on the cover. I also bought this book for 25 cents. This is Avenging Spider-Man number 9, aka the first appearance of Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. That's insane. I bought this book for 25 cents. 25 cents. Not only did I buy this book for 25 cents, but through my multiple years of going through a comic book purge and getting rid of comics that, you know, just didn't hit home for me, or maybe I didn't like the book and so I gave them away, I sold them, whatnot. This always kind of almost ended up in the stack. But there was always something in the back of my head that was like, no, she looks really cool. I really love the way this cover looks. Do not sell this comic. And I didn't even realize it was the first appearance of Carol Danvers until like 2 years ago when I was looking at some lists and I saw this book on there and I was like, oh, I need to put it in a special protective cover. So now the first appearance of Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel is in a very nice Mylar protective sleeve. It's in a very special place in my comic book cabinet along with my other first appearance. But this might actually be one of the most insane comic book first appearance collection stories, you know, that I have other than my $10 Black Canary book. But this is a pretty cool book. Have I read it? No. Do I think it's neat? Yes. So that is everything. I know this video wasn't super duper long. I actually want to do some videos that are a little bit short and sweet. I know I've been kind of pushing the envelope with like 40-minute videos lately. However, y'all don't realize it literally takes me days to upload and edit those videos. Like, it is actual insanity, and I feel like I'm always like lacking on content on the channel, and I just want to give you guys more. So I think doing these fun little collection spotlights might be a nice way to break it up. I definitely want to do some collection spotlights in the future, focusing more on characters, because I'm the type of person that collects by characters, and you know, I have a lot of Catwoman and a lot of X-23 stuff and just fun goodies that I want to show off for you guys. But you know, I've been in a creative drive lately. I got a lot of fun things coming up on the channel. I am filming something tomorrow, ridiculously fun, that I am so excited to be doing. I'm visiting one of my favorite comic book shops, and I'm taking you guys along with me. So I'm very excited to be doing that. That video will hopefully be on the channel shortly after this one. But I am going to skedaddle on out of here. I gotta put, you know, because these comics, they ain't gonna put away themselves. So I'm gonna go spend some time reorganizing and cleaning out my comic cabinet. No, you did not hear me wrong. I have an entire cabinet for comics. If you haven't noticed, I'm a little bit ridiculous. But thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!